Did you know France banned an entire movie just because people in power were scared of what it said? One film on this list was blocked from cinemas for over a year. These 10 French movies are powerful, emotional, and deeply human, and most people have never heard of them. Stay till the end. Number 7 will surprise you. 1. Water Lilies, Naissance des Pieuvres, 2007. Let's start with something quiet but powerful. Water Lilies came out in 2007. It is directed by Céline Sciamma, who would later make Portrait of a Lady on Fire. But this was her very first film. The story follows 3 teenage girls during a summer at a synchronized swimming club. Marie becomes obsessed with Florian, a popular, beautiful swimmer. It is not a happy crush. It is messy, confusing, and a little painful. This film does not have big dramatic scenes. It is slow and careful. Every look means something. Every silence says something. IMDb gives it a 6.6, but that number does not tell the full story. Critics loved it. It won the SACD prize at Cannes in 2007. If you enjoy quiet films that make you feel things without explaining them, start here. 2. The Rehearsal, La Répétition, Rehearsal, 2001. This one is about a friendship that goes too far. The Rehearsal is a French-Canadian co-production from 2001. It stars Pascal Boussière and Natasha Régnier. The story follows 2 women, Louise and Nathalie, who were close as children. They meet again as adults, and that old bond slowly turns into something darker. It is not a love story in the sweet sense. It is more of a thriller with feelings. Louise becomes completely focused on Nathalie, almost to the point of danger. The film asks a question that is hard to answer. Where does deep friendship end and unhealthy obsession begin? The IMDb score is 6.2, which makes it look average. But the performances are strong, and the tension builds in a way that keeps you uncomfortable in a good way. If you like psychological stories, this one is for you. If you are enjoying this list, hit the like button right now. It really helps this channel grow. And subscribe. We make videos like this every week. Now let's keep going. 3. Thieves, Les Voleurs, Gas, 1996. Now we move into something darker and more complex. Thieves, directed by André Téchiné, is a neo-noir crime drama. The year was 1996. The story is told in a non-linear way, meaning it jumps around in time, which can be a little confusing at first, but it is worth the patience. At the center is a philosophy professor named Marie, played by Catherine Deneuve. She falls into a complicated relationship with a woman connected to a criminal family. What makes this film special is how it handles loyalty. Who do you stay loyal to when everything around you is falling apart? The film explores how people from very different worlds, cops, criminals, academics, all get tangled together. The queer storyline is not the whole movie, but it is treated with real depth and respect. IMDb rates it 6.5. It is not a mainstream film, but it is one of those movies that stays with you. Catherine Deneuve, by the way, is one of the most celebrated French actresses in history. This is one of her bravest performances. 4. French Twist, Gazon Maudit, Rehearsal, 1995. Ready for something lighter? Because this one will make you laugh. French Twist, or Gazon Maudit in French, came out in 1995 and became a cult classic almost immediately. It was directed by Josiane Balasco, who also stars in the film. The story is about a married couple. The husband cheats constantly. Then one day, a free-spirited woman named Marijo shows up at their home, and the wife falls for her. What follows is a funny, sharp, and surprisingly warm story about a 3-person household that nobody expected. This is not a tragedy. It is a comedy drama with real wit. The film treats everyone in the situation with fairness. Nobody is fully the bad guy. In 1995, this kind of story was very bold. French audiences loved it. It earned over 4 million ticket sales in France alone. That is a massive number for an independent comedy. IMDb gives it 6.5. But fans of French cinema often rate it much higher. If you want something fun but still thoughtful, this is your movie. 5. Anais in Love, Les Amours d'Anais, Critics 2021. Here is one of the newer films on this list. Anais in Love came out in 2021. It is directed by Charline Bourgeois-Taquet and stars Anais de Moustier in the lead role. Anais is a young woman in Paris who is a little all over the place. She talks fast, moves fast, and feels everything too deeply. She gets into a complicated situation. She meets an older man, but then becomes deeply interested in his partner, a well-known writer named Emily. This movie has a very fresh and modern energy. It is chaotic in a fun way. It feels very real, like you are watching someone's actual life unfold. The age gap between Anais and Emily adds an interesting layer. This is not just a simple romance story. There are big differences in life experience, power, and what each woman wants. IMDb gives it 6.3, but it was very well received at the Cannes Film Festival in 2021, where it screened in the director's fortnight section. If you enjoy fast-talking, energetic, character-driven films, Anais will feel like a breath of fresh air. 6. Summertime, La Belle Saison, 2015. Now we go back in time, all the way to the 1970s. Summertime, directed by Catherine Corsini, is set in 1971, France. This was a time when women were fighting very hard for equal rights. The feminist movement was loud, passionate, and changing everything. Delphine is a young woman from a rural farm family. She moves to Paris for a new life and quickly finds herself drawn into a group of feminist activists. There she meets Carol, a bold, confident woman who becomes the love of her life. But their relationship is pulled in two directions. Carol wants to fight for change in the city. Delphine's family needs her back on the farm. And in rural France in the 1970s, being openly queer was not safe. This film is beautiful in how it shows two worlds in conflict, the city and the countryside, the personal and the political, freedom and responsibility. IMDb gives it 7.1, the highest score on this entire list, and it deserves it. Summertime is not just a queer love story. It is a piece of history. It shows what life was really like for women who loved women at a time when the world was just beginning to change. 7. The Nun, La Religieuse, 1966. Here is the film that was actually banned. This is the one I mentioned in the intro. The Nun, or La Religieuse, was directed by Jacques Rivette in 1966. It is based on a novel by Denis Diderot, written way back in the 18th century. The story follows a young woman named Suzanne, who is forced into a convent by her family. She does not want to be a nun. She fights back. And along the way, she faces cruelty, manipulation, and complicated feelings from the women around her. The French government actually banned this film before it was even released publicly. Religious groups put enormous pressure on the government. The ban lasted more than a year. When it was finally allowed in cinemas, people lined up to watch it. Today it is considered a masterpiece of the French New Wave movement. The New Wave was a period in the 1960s when French filmmakers broke all the old rules of cinema and made bold artistic films that changed the world of movies forever. IMDb gives it a 7.5, the second highest on this list. Anna Karina, who plays Suzanne, is one of the most iconic actresses of that era. Her performance is extraordinary. This film is nearly 60 years old, and it still feels urgent. 8. Jeanne Dielman, 1974. This next film is not easy to watch, but it is important. Jeanne Dielman, which means I, you, he, she in English, was made in 1974 by Chantal Akerman. She was just 24 years old when she made it. Chantal Akerman is one of the most important filmmakers in cinema history, but many people outside of film school have never heard of her. She was Belgian-French and made films that challenged what a movie could be. This film is split into 3 parts. In the first part, a young woman, played by Akerman herself, is alone in a small room. She eats sugar from a bag. She moves her mattress around. She writes letters and throws them away. Nothing much happens, but it is deeply strange and deeply honest. In the second part, she travels with a truck driver. In the third part, she visits a woman she loves. The film has very little dialogue. It does not try to entertain you in the normal way. It tries to make you feel present, like you are truly inside someone's private world. It was made on almost no budget. It is raw and sometimes uncomfortable. IMDb gives it 6.7. But among film scholars and critics, it is treated as a landmark work. It was listed by many publications as one of the greatest films ever made by a female director. If you are curious about avant-garde cinema, this is a must-see. 9. La Pirate, 1984. Now we get to one of the most dramatic films on this entire list. La Pirate came out in 1984. It was directed by Jacques Doyon. The title means The Pirate. But this is not a film about ships or the sea. The title refers to a kind of emotional pirate, someone who takes what they want and leaves chaos behind. The story centers on a love triangle. Alma is in a long relationship with a man named Carol. But when a woman named Doris arrives, everything falls apart. Doris is intense, aggressive, and fully committed to taking Alma's attention no matter what it costs. The word explosive is the right word for this film. The characters argue constantly. They say cruel things. They push and pull on each other in ways that are exhausting to watch, in the best possible sense. What makes La Pirate interesting is that it shows how love can sometimes look a lot like conflict. The obsession between Alma and Doris is not healthy, but it is completely believable. IMDb gives it only 5.2, making it the lowest-rated film on this list. But cult films are not always appreciated right away. Over the decades, La Pirate has built a loyal following, especially among fans of bold and unconventional storytelling. It is a hard film to forget once you have seen it. 10. Clouds of Sils Maria, 2014. We saved the most thought-provoking one for last. Clouds of Sils Maria came out in 2014. It was directed by Olivier Assayas and stars Juliette Binoche and Kristen Stewart. Yes, Kristen Stewart from Twilight, and she is absolutely incredible in this film. The story follows Maria, a famous actress played by Juliette Binoche. She is preparing to star in a revival of the play that first made her famous, but this time she will play the older woman instead of the young one. Her personal assistant, Valentine, played by Kristen Stewart, helps her rehearse, but here is where it gets interesting. As they rehearse, the line between the play and real life starts to blur. Maria begins to feel about Valentine the same way the character in the play feels about the younger woman. Is she acting? Is it real? The film never gives you a clean answer. Kristen Stewart won the César Award for Best Supporting Actress for this role. The César is France's version of the Oscar. She was the first American actress to ever win one. That is a remarkable achievement. The film is set partly in the Swiss Alps, and the landscape, the famous clouds called the Maloja snake that roll through the mountains, becomes a symbol for confusion and beauty at the same time. IMDb gives it 6.7, but it is the kind of film that changes depending on who is watching it and when. This is cinema that respects your intelligence. 10 films, 50 years of French cinema. One theme: women, desire, and the complicated truth of human connection. Which one will you watch first? Tell us in the comments below. And if you found this video useful, share it with someone who loves great films. See you in the next one.